So, is the wild ride of Edmonton's real estate frenzy finally coming to an end? Well, the latest numbers for October 2025 are pointing to a major shift. Now, we're not talking about a crash or anything like that, but something that might actually be better for everyone involved, a return to balance. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what this means for you, whether you're looking to buy or sell.
Here's what we've got on tap. First up, we'll get into what this new balance really means for the market. Then, we'll dive straight into the hard data from October. After that, we've got some practical playbooks, one for buyers and one for sellers. And to wrap it all up, we'll take a look ahead to see what 2026 might have in store. Let's do this.
Okay, the biggest story in Edmonton's housing market right now is this. The frenzy is fading. We're moving away from the chaos and the bidding wars of last year and easing into a much more stable, predictable environment. And trust me, this is a huge shift, and it pretty much impacts everybody.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Darlene Reed, who's the board chair for the Realtors Association of Edmonton, really hit the nail on the head. She confirms this whole rebalancing act is the key trend. With more homes on the market, buyers get more choice, but sellers are still seeing strong demand. You know, it's that win-win we haven't seen in a good long while.
So what is a balanced market anyway? It's basically that sweet spot where supply and demand are just in sync. You typically see about 4 to 6 months of inventory. Now, Edmonton's sitting at 2.7 months, so we're not quite there yet, but we are absolutely heading in that much healthier, more sustainable direction.
All right, now for the really fun part, the numbers. This is where we see the actual proof of this market shift. So let's roll up our sleeves and dig into the data that's driving all the headlines.
This number right here, this is the game changer. Housing inventory, the number of homes for sale is up a whopping 30.7% from this time last year. This is the single biggest reason why buyers can finally take a breath and the whole market just feels different.
And just to put that into perspective, take a look at this chart. See that massive jump from last October to this one? That huge increase in available homes is exactly why the panic buying and those crazy bidding wars from 2024 are finally, thankfully, behind us.
But here's where it gets really interesting. You'd think with that huge spike in inventory, sales and prices would be dropping, right? Well, not so fast. Sales are actually up 17%, and the average price has still climbed over 3%. What this tells us is that demand is still super strong. Buyers just have way more options to choose from now.
Of course, the market isn't a monolith. If we slice the data by property type, we see some different stories playing out. Detached homes, holding steady. But look at semi-detached homes and apartment condos. They've jumped by over 5%. And if you're looking for a potential deal, check out townhouses, where prices have actually dipped a little bit.
Okay, so you're a buyer. What does all of this mean for you, personally? Let's get right into your playbook for navigating this new market.
The best news for you as a buyer? You can finally breathe. Seriously, gone are the days of having to make a life-altering decision in 20 minutes during a crazy bidding war. Now you have time to shop around, compare your options, and really think. Detached homes are still pretty competitive, sure, but you can make a choice based on what you actually want, not just out of pure urgency.
So, what's your secret weapon to win in this market? First, get pre-approved and lock in a rate for 90, even 120 days. That protects your buying power. Second, think small. Forget citywide stats. Track the weekly data for the specific neighborhoods you're targeting. And third, become a deal hunter. Keep an eye out for those homes that have been on the market for a bit or have had a recent price drop.
All right, sellers, your turn. The game has definitely changed, and you need to be strategic. With more houses on the market, you've got more competition. Here's your playbook.
Rule number 1 for sellers. You have to forget about what your neighbor got last spring. Price your home for today's market based on today's sales. Second, presentation is everything. With more choices for buyers, those little details, fresh paint, great staging, pro photos are absolutely critical. And finally, that first 2 weeks on the market, that's your golden window to create buzz and get those offers in.
This is probably the biggest mistake I see sellers make. Please do not rely on citywide average prices. That's like using a map of Canada to find a specific street in Edmonton. It just doesn't work. You need a hyper-local analysis to price your home right and get it sold.
So, what's next? What does the crystal ball say about 2026 for the Edmonton real estate market? Well, there are a couple of really big things shaping up that you need to know about.
And here is a huge one.
The Bank of Canada just cut its key policy rate. Now, that doesn't mean your mortgage rate is going to drop overnight, but it is a massive signal that borrowing costs are stabilizing. And that's a huge confidence booster for buyers.
So as we head into 2026, we've got these two powerful forces, these tailwinds working in our favor. Buyers continue to have more choice and less pressure, while that rate cut is helping keep demand strong. It's creating this really unique window of opportunity that honestly, we haven't seen in a very long time.
So what's the bottom line? Let's boil it all down. The market is absolutely 100% balancing out, and that's good for everyone. But, and this is a big but, with only 2.7 months of inventory, we are still technically in a seller's market. The power is shifting, for sure, but it hasn't completely flipped just yet.
So that leaves us with the big question. With more choice on the table for buyers and more stable borrowing costs for everyone, could 2026 be your year to finally make a move? The opportunity is definitely there. The only question left is, what will you do with it?